Hi, welcome to episode 181 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you haven't come over and joined us, please do. Hi, how are you? It is Sunday, April 29th, and the month is almost over. We are just squeaking out with one more day. I will reiterate for those of you who are working on works in progress, we are trying to whip it in April, and tomorrow is the deadline to finish. I will draw for prizes on Monday. I have a project bag and a skein of yarn, so I will draw 2 winners and get your contact information and get your prizes out to you. Also, the other bit of housekeeping is that next week there will not be a podcast. I am traveling to Chicago this week for a pen show, and I am actually working a pen store booth in the show. And the show runs, well, I drive up on Wednesday, we set up on Thursday. Show is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we drive home on Monday. So I am not going to be getting much knitting done because I'll be working the pen show every day from like 9 to 5, 9 to 6. And I will get knitting done in the car, but I won't podcast next weekend. So it'll be 2 weeks until we see each other again. But hopefully that will give you time to dig into your May projects. I know I will, and I'll talk about that a little bit. So I hope you had a good week. Mine was pretty good. I didn't get as much crafting done as I would like, but that's kind of always the case. I remember when I was a kid, over summer break or vacations as a kid, you'd say, "Oh, I'm bored." And my dad would say, "I'm never ever bored. There are never enough hours in the day for me to do everything I want to do." And now that I'm an adult, I get it. It doesn't matter how much time I have off available to knit. I always want more. And there are always more books to read and more spins to be done and things to do. And naps to be had. So yeah, so this week has been pretty good. This coming week will be a short week. I will work Monday and Tuesday and then take off. So that is the status of things around here. Let's do the podcast. I have knits for you. I don't have a spin, but I have knits that I'm working on that I'm trying ever so hard to finish. And I have one new one that I will show you for May. So my tea today is called Prince of Wales. It is from Twinings of London, and it just says that it is a black tea, Chinese black tea. I don't know anything else about it. It was just a tea bag that I got with an order, and I thought I'd give it a try. And I am drinking it today in my Hershey's mug, which I know is a little silly because it's a chocolate mug, but I'm drinking regular tea. And that is lovely. It's really nice. It's kind of light. And I added just a touch of sugar to it, which is like how I like my black teas. And it is very nice. So let's get to the knits. Friends, I have been working on Mom's blanket. As of last week, I think I calculated that I had 31 squares to go. 31, 32, 29. I don't even remember exactly. But I calculated that I had about half the 10th row and then all of the 11th row. I have 8 squares left. So I knit probably 20 squares this week, maybe a couple more. So I have been doing lots and lots of work on it. The biggest thing that has probably caused me to slow down is that I have had to find some more yarns to use, and so I have been cannibalizing some yarns in my stash. I've been winding them up and borrowing from them. Usually my squares only take 10 grams, or a little bit less, so it's not a huge deal to borrow from skeins in my stash. I can still make socks out of them in particular, but so I've been borrowing from skeins in the stash, so I've been winding skeins so that I can just steal a little bit for Mom's blanket. But it is looking pretty good. I did the top row this week, and then I did the side row here, and then I have started on the next side row. I have 3 done, which means I have 8 left, and then I have a border, and I have the skein picked out for the border, although that will need to be wound too. And I will definitely not make it by April 30th. My hope had been that maybe I could get the squares all done by today and then work on the border in the next couple days. But even that didn't quite happen. So I am continuing on. I will hope maybe to finish the squares before I leave town, maybe weave in the ends, and then work on the, I do a 3-stitch I-cord border, and I will do that when I return. It was a brave and valiant effort for this month, and I did get a lot done, and I should be done within the first little bit of May. It'll probably be like by May 10th or 11th, since I'll be gone from the 2nd to the 7th. But I am super, super pleased with it, and I hope Mom will love it. It's got a little bit more pink than I probably should have put in it, but it's just all kinds of stuff. And I want to thank you to anyone who watches the show who sent me any yarns, because I do have quite a few yarns from other people, and I very, very much appreciate you sending those to me. And it's kind of neat to look at the blanket and say, well, that one came from my stuff, and that one came from somebody else's. So I am hoping that by the next time we speak, this one will be done and ready to go. And I am so ready to cast on a new project, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is Mom's blanket. It is the Memory Blanket by Georgie Hallam. And it is, I am doing, it's 20 stitches by 20 stitches in worsted weight or fingering held double on US 5s. And it is exactly like mine. I have not kept careful notes on this project, but if you go back and look at mine, which I did about a year and a half or 2 years ago, you'll see all the notes about what I did, and I figured out roughly how much it was per square and blah, blah, blah. This one I have not been keeping careful notes on, just because, I don't know, I did it a second time, and I'm just not keeping quite the notes that I kept on the first one. But that's okay. I know what I did, so I'm gonna finish this up, and then their anniversary is in June, so I'm a little bit early, but that's not, it's always nice to be done a little bit early. So the second whip, this one isn't gonna be done by April 30th either, I'm afraid. I'm getting there, and I have made a huge amount of progress. I think when I started this project, I probably had between 80 and 90% of the skein left, and I am down to, at last check, it was 30 grams, but that was a little while ago, so I'm probably getting closer to 20 grams, which is where I want to start the edging, or start the end piece. I have about, well, I have, the repeat is 40 rows, and I have one more repeat to do. So I have 20 more rows, and then I'll be starting the border. And I didn't have as much progress this week as I did last time because I didn't have the knitting convention in between, so I probably only knit between 6 and 8 inches this week. But like I said, I'm getting close to the border. I am going to take this one along with me to Chicago. We are taking my friend's car, and she has to drive because it's a stick shift, and I don't drive a stick shift. So I will have probably 8 to 10 hours of knitting time each way. So this is coming with me so that I can finish the end of it. So this will be done by May 7th when I return. And oops, this is the back side. Not that it really matters, but that's the back side, that's the front side. I can only tell because the spine is all knitted. So I can tell if I'm on the purl or the correct side because the spine is the correct stitch. So yeah. So this one is almost done too, so you'll just see it one more time after I get back and block it, but my plan is to finish this one, so not bad for April is for whips, even though I didn't actually finish much. I finished my sweater, but that wasn't an old whip, so, you know, I picked up some old projects and tried to do them. The other project that I'm going to bring in the car is I'm going to bring those cherry blossom socks where I knit the first one towards the beginning of the month and I wanted to finish them. I am positive I can finish a sock, particularly in an up and back. So my plan is the shawl and the pair of socks, and that will finish off a bunch of whips, which means it's time for something new. And originally, I don't remember what I said about casting on new things. I know I said I didn't want to cast on any new things in April. But I kind of decided that 2 whips done, 1 new one on until I'm kind of done digging out. So if I finish the scarf and the socks, I am going to cast on a new, oops, this is the wrong bag. I'm going to cast on a new project. So the project that I'm going to cast on, and I forgot to bring the pattern with me today, it is a shawl by a designer by the name of, she goes by Casa Pinka, and it is called Albuquerque Sunset, and it is a 2-color shawl that has some slip stitches and some texture and some interplay between the colors. And I decided to pull together some things that I had in my stash. The first thing is, and I don't know if you remember this, this has been several years. Several years ago, I dyed a knit pick sock blank in an afternoon. It was a double knit sock blank, so I could have 2 identical socks. And I knitted into some socks, and the socks that I was knitting came out just enormous, so I had to rip them out. And I wound them back up and put them in a bag because I was annoyed and didn't do anything with them. And actually here you can see almost all the colors. I called it Tequila Sunrise. I went from yellow to an orange to a pink, red, a pink, and a purple. And so you can kind of see the colors here. Each ball is exactly the same. One is just wound with the yellow on the outside, and one is wound with the yellow on the inside. And so my plan is to, I haven't decided which order I'm going to knit them in yet, whether I'm going to start with yellow and move through purple and then back to yellow, or start with purple and move through yellow back to purple. But I'm going to knit them end to end so that I have a huge long gradient. And then I decided as a neutral-ish dark color, I needed a solid to go with it. And I decided to bring this, it's dark purple. It is actually the purple that I used to edge my blanket. I was going to use it to edge my mom's blanket, but then I pulled it and wanted to put it in here because I thought it would set off all these other colors super nicely. So I have another purple that's not this dark. It's a little more, it's a little lighter in tone. It's not a lavender, but it's a purple that I'll use for mom's blanket. And I think I'm going to use these 2 together. And actually I have another partial skein of this one somewhere. So I need to wind this one up and I need to grab my partial. And they're all sock yarns, but I'm just going to knit this 2-color shawl and enjoy it. So that is my next project. And these have been, I looked back and I dyed these probably in 2014 and they have been balled up waiting for me to do something with them for a while. So while they are not a whip, I'm kind of counting them as a whip, even though I'm casting on something new. So I feel like this project is using up some yarns that have been in my stash for a while that I bought. And this one I bought 2 skeins when I did the border on my blanket because I wasn't sure how much I would use. So these have been living in my stash for, you know, like 2 to 3.5 years and a year or 2. So my feeling is that I'm sort of using up stash here. So those are the projects that I'm going to do right now. What I haven't decided is what the rest of what I'm going to do in May is. I do have a bunch of sock yarn now wound up in balls from doing the blanket. So I'll probably cast on another pair of socks. Actually, I wanted to do the Northbound Knitting socks, so I may cast those on. I bought a sweater quantity, which I showed you last week, to knit Roxy a sweater, so that is on there. And then my secret project, which I'm only going to mention once, and then I'm not going to mention it again, and I probably won't even, well, I might show it on the podcast before I send it out or something. I am going to knit my sister a sweater. And she sometimes watches the podcast, so, and I know she watches my Instagram feed and other places, and I decided I wanted it to be a big surprise. So don't tell, but I am going to be making her a sweater, and if nothing else, I will show photos on here when I'm done, but maybe I'll film a little snippet with it, and then send it off to her and then not actually air the snippet until I'm done. So that will be something that is coming up. And then I have one more project on the needles that I consider a whip that I'd like to finish, and that is I started a Hitofude sweater. It's a lace cardigan, and I got through the top piece with the arms and whatever, and so now I have to do the body of the sweater. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to pick this month with all of this stuff. That's probably my May and June knitting squared away, but I need to I would like to continue on that. And then for the second half of the year, I will need to do some winter gear for the kids. And then I have a variety of shawl projects that I would like to do, and some of them the yarn is now wound up. So my plan is to kind of delve into those and use up some things that I've hand spun and use up some stash. And I have another fun review coming. I have a box of fiber samples coming, and they are all, I believe it's all different colors and a little bit of different fiber, but then I'm supposed to use it together in a project, and so I haven't decided yet whether I'll do some colorwork mittens or a colorwork hat or something fun, but that will be a fun box to explore and talk about. And so that kind of finishes the knitting section. I'm going to do a brief review of a product that I received this week, and there will be a more full review with photos on my blog, but I thought I would discuss this. About maybe 2 months ago, I was asked if I wanted to receive a product from Lazadus. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's called Lazadus Knitting Accessories, and you can kind of see the logo right there, maybe, if the camera is participating and helping. And it is called a multi-purpose yarn caddy. And so this was designed by a knitter. It is designed in a high grade silicone, so it's like very rubbery and easily pliable, but it is designed to be either a yarn bowl to hold yarns for your project, but also to be a caddy where you can put the handle through the slit in the side, and it takes on kind of a football shape, but it protects all of your yarns in the caddy. And I haven't completely used it yet. I've tested it out. My plan is maybe to use this with like Roxy's sweater or something, because it will keep it all in one place. This was designed with a lot of care and eye for detail. I will say the details on the silicone are fun. They have like knitting stitches here. I don't know if you can see this, and kind of like a knitted braid around the side. But the other interesting thing that they did is on each side, they put in these little holes, and I don't know how well you can see them, but I have a piece of yarn threaded through it, because there are 4 holes, 2 on each side here, so that if you want to do color work, you can put your balls in here and put your balls in here. You can put your yarn balls in here and thread your yarn through there, so you can use them for color work. So I thought this was kind of interesting. It's a little bit different than kind of the concept of a ceramic or wood yarn bowl next to you. It seems like it would be good for a project. It might be really good for a blanket project if you just put a bunch of leftovers in here. Mostly I have a big comforter bag full of leftovers, so it doesn't quite fit for me to work in here. However, I will be working on, I still have, and I consider this a whip, but it wasn't anything I was going to finish right away. I still have a couple crochet blankets that I've been working on, a ripple. Anyway, so I could put a bunch of my little minis in here and work from those for the ripple. But so I thought this was kind of a neat knitting accessory. Let me think, what else was I going to say? Lazadus is an Israeli company. I don't have a lot of information about them, but I do know that when I ordered, it shipped from Israel, so it took a little while to get here, but I know that they are available at other stores globally. They have a list of retailers on their site. And the other thing that Lazadus does that I did not order, because I had my choice, was they do a series of flexible blocking wires. So, and I have not had a chance to look at their website yet and see what other things they may do. They may do more than that. I just know on offer for us were a series of flexible blocking wires or this great little yarn caddy. And I can recommend this. It's kind of fun, and I probably will get some good use out of it. It also, to me, would be a great thing to take in the car, because it would, you could put it down on the floor, like in front of you, and it would keep your yarn safe. And since it's silicone, you can just wipe it up if there's dust on the floor. So, yeah. So that is the Lazadus multi-purpose yarn caddy. And like I said, I will be writing a more thorough review of it this week on the blog, but I wanted to show you and let you know what I was using. So that is it for me this week. I did not get too much spinning because we weren't home too many of the nights, and I decided this weekend that I was going to make it or break it on the blanket, and I didn't quite make it, but I have done pretty well. So that is what I have for you today. I hope that you have had a wonderful week and weekend. Thank you for spending time with me. A reminder, I will not be here next week, but I will be back the following week. And I hope that you have a wonderful time until I see you. So like I always say, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye!